it's Shell from Scrap Secrets and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is day 3 in the Countdown to Christmas 2021 series, and we're going to be making this for Santa cookie card. I'm starting off with some products from Honey Bee, and the stamp and die set is called Sugar Cookie Alphabet, as well as the Cookie Sheet die set from Honey Bee. And that's the main images we're going to use for the card. This is a scrap piece of paper that I had. I got it from a card swap, so I don't exactly know where it is. It's a little bit thinner than cardstock, but it feels like a little bit thicker than the pattern paper that I use. I decided to do every third letter in the same color. So the first color that I chose was Hero Art's Red Royal ink. And then I'm also using MFT's Sweet Tooth Pigment ink to stamp out the O, and then I stamp out the A twice. And then the last ink that we use is the MFT Elf Green Hybrid ink. I'm just stamping out all of these, and then I'm going to be using the dies to cut them out. So I run those through my Cuttlebug, and then I picked a couple colors of Copic markers to just color them in, because we're going to be using some white Nuvo drops to make icing on the cookies. For the red Copic marker, I chose R29, and I just colored in every other stripe. And then I'm going to go in with my white Nuvo drops for the stripes that I didn't color in and put a thin layer of Nuvo drops down. Now, eventually, when you see the final card, you'll notice that the lines are a little bit thicker because I was impatient and I picked up the O and I actually got my thumbprint in it. So I had to go back and do another layer, and it looked better. I liked it better, so I went back and did another layer on everything. For the green, I did G19 and did the same exact thing, went and colored in every other line, and then I'm going to go back in with my white Nuvo drops and put the lines in for all the ones that I didn't color in. I think it's interesting that almost every letter except the S and the N had some type of lines in it, so it was kind of easy to come up with a cohesive theme. Some words, when you do these together, it's a little bit harder to make it look like it all goes together, but because they all had some type of stripe, almost all of them had some type of stripe in it, it was a little easier. Now I'm using E34, and this one was pretty difficult. This was the white Sweet Tooth Pigment ink, and it was so hard to see the lines, so I just colored where I felt like the lines might have been, and I got them mostly there. You can tell the parts where I actually colored over the pigment ink, it actually kind of wiped off and it looked a little bit lighter. So after I colored all three, the two A's and the O, I went back in again with my white Nuvo drops and I put the lines in there. So that takes care of those letters, and then the S and the N are the only two that I had left, and I didn't like how plain they were. So I took that same Copic marker in E34 and I went over and colored in the inside of the cookie. I wanted to make it look like a dark sugar cookie. We make sugar cookies every year. I have started bringing my nieces and my sisters and my mom over to my house, and we always make Christmas cookies. And I thought this just reminded me of them. Sometimes we leave them in a little bit too long and they're a little bit crispier, which is how I know my mom likes them a little bit crispier and a little bit darker. So I just decided to go with one of the lightest shades of brown that I had and color in the whole image. I will go back and add a little bit of something to the S because I thought it looked a little plain. And I don't have any green Nuvo drops, which is what I really wanted for on top of that N, that thin line inside of it. Now I'm taking a 5x7 card base, a piece of green cardstock that's an 1/8 of an inch smaller than that, and then the pattern paper is an 1/8 of an inch smaller than that. And this is really old pattern paper. It was very thin. I believe the whole paper pack was from Michael's years ago. It wasn't one of the hot buys. They're thinner than those ones. This was just like a very lightweight paper. For the tray, for the cookie sheet, I initially had it cut out in white, but then I didn't like it, so I used the same color paper that I did for the letters, and I cut it out. And you can see how thin it is here, that it keeps crinkling up with it. I would have skipped this step because you can kind of see it in the end. I actually had to do something else to cover up some of the lines that were made. The paper bends a little bit too easily. I probably should have gone with just the white, but it came out fine. Now I'm using the Honeybee Be Creative glue on the back, and I'm sticking it down to the front of that card base. And then we're going to get ready to stick on all of the cookies. And because Santa is such a long word, it doesn't exactly fit across perfectly, I kind of staggered the cookies like you would when you put the cookies onto a sheet. Oh, this is already where I had gotten my finger in the O. The O wasn't completely dry yet, so I do eventually go back while the stuff is glued down here so that I have less chance of ruining it again, and do a thick second coat on this. But I'm going to use that same Be Creative glue to go behind all of the letters and stick them down to that cookie sheet. So I'm just placing the 4 a little bit, the F and the O closer to the top, and then the Santa closer, the S, the N, and the A closer to the bottom of the cookie sheet. You see, I moved the R, or the F. I'm sorry that it was off camera. I thought that I was in frame. I did not do a good job of that. I think this would be a fun card to make with kids. I might try to make this with the girls. I am thinking that I'm going to take them again this year and do Christmas presents with them. They love doing it. They love making cards. So I think that we might try to make something with these. This is such a fun set. If you guys don't have it, I highly recommend it. It is really, really cute, and you can do a lot of things with it. It's not just Christmas. You can use it all year round. Oh, after all those were glued on, you can see here's where I go back in and do that second layer. I already had one on the O, and I liked the way it looks. You can see how thick that white is compared to the letters at the bottom. I thought going back over and doing a second coat would add to it. And then once I was done that, I looked at it and I realized that the S was a little plain, the N was very plain, but I couldn't find any Nuvo glue. Like I said, I don't have, Nuvo drops. I don't have any dark green ones, so I couldn't really do anything with that. So I decided to cut out 2 more shapes as little cookies on the side to cover some of those lines where the paper had crinkled up. I'm going to take the same 2 colors of Copic markers, that R29 and G19, and color the cookies in. Make sure that I covered the sides and you couldn't see any of that colored paper underneath of it. Once those were done, I used that same Be Creative precision glue to glue these 2 onto the card base. Honestly, these were to hide things. I tried using sparkle blends, but then I thought, why would sparkle blends be on a cookie sheet? So, I mean, creative licensing, yes, I could see that. But I just thought that these 2 little cookies were kind of a good addition to it. So I'm going to place the heart down to cover that really, really big crinkle in the paper. And then the other side, just to balance it out a little bit, I put the green star. I'm also going to take the Nuvo drops and trace around them to give it icing like the other ones, to make it look like cookies, because I think they just look like shapes right now. I thought if I added a little bit of that icing, or the Nuvo drops as icing, it would be a little bit more cohesive. Tell me what you think. Did that make the card look better? Should I have left it off? What do you guys think? Leave what your opinions are down in the comments below. I'm curious to see if you liked it before or after. Now, I still think the S and the N look a little bit too plain, so I pulled out my Spectrum Noir sparkle pen and went over the stars in the S as well as the line in the N. I really wish I had had some Nuvo drops in a dark green, but didn't have anything. Oh, I used that glitter pen as well as put a little bit of glitter on those 2 cookies because, again, they looked a little bit plain. If I would have thought of it, I could have done some stripes or something else, or polka dots maybe, but didn't think of it until now. Oh, that's the card. I hope that you guys are enjoying this video series, And if you have comments or questions, please feel free to leave them below. I will be back again on Friday for day 4. I will see you guys then.